Hey, what's up guys? Welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, I am an online fashion reseller selling on Poshmark, eBay, and Mercari. Now, if you watched my last video, you will know that I wore the exact same outfit, and that is because it is in fact the exact same day. I have gotten a lot of requests to show, after I do the haul, what's next. How do I process the inventory? How do I store things? How do I organize it? Like, what's the process? So I'm going to kind of do like a part 2 follow-up to last week's haul to show you guys what comes next after I thrift the item. Sometimes I show the item, or like what happens when I take it home, essentially. So I am going to take you along with me through the process. If you have any questions, feel free to leave them down in the comments down below. I know every reseller has a different process based off of where they live, what works for them, what kind of items they're sourcing, and so on. So let's get into it. Okay, I have a dirty little secret I need to share with you guys. Please do not judge what you are about to see. This right here is where all the magic happens. And look at this clutter. I am embarrassed that this is the environment that I'm working in, but this is what inevitably happens when you have a small space. This is literally where all the processing happens, the steaming, the photographing, the YouTube videos, the everything happens in this like 300 square foot space corner in my bedroom. So, moral of the story is, if you have a small space, if you don't have like this huge posh room, a spare bedroom in your house, don't feel bad. You can still totally run a business out of the small space, and hopefully you'll see it grow with time and you won't be stuck in the same space forever, but everyone has got to start somewhere. Okay, so after I bring an item home from the thrift store, I go ahead and I hang it up on my processing rack. So this is everything that needs to be steamed and photographed. This is kind of like how I visualize everything that needs to be processed still. So I go ahead and I hang up the item. I leave all the price tags on still. I like to take them off after I steam because that is how I usually run into the flaws that I didn't catch at the thrift store. So I leave them on until I photograph, and then I cut them off just in case to be safe. I did end up starting to drive an hour to LA to go thrifting there because the prices are better, the brands are insane, and they allow returns. I cannot tell you the amount of times that I basically lost money because I took something home, it had a stain on it, and I couldn't return it at my local thrift stores. So it's definitely worth the drive for me for the option to have returns because everyone brings stuff home with flaws by accident. It just happens. So once it's hung up, then everything is ready to be steamed. I use the Jiffy steamer. It's okay, you do not need this $200 and something steamer. A handheld one will work perfectly fine. It might be a little annoying, so you'll have to fill it up a bunch of times in between items. But I also don't steam everything. I just steam things that need to be steamed, but I'm trying to get this done as quick as possible, so I'm not going in and like spending hours on an item to steam it. As long as it looks presentable, then I'm good to go, and I will start photographing. When everything is steamed, then I am ready to photograph. I use this lovely white wall right here to photograph. And it actually does kind of look like it's decent lighting, but it's actually pretty bad lighting. I actually keep my curtain closed because it eliminates a lot of the shadows, and then I just edit the photographs afterwards. And because it's on a white wall already and it has kind of diffused lighting, it makes it so much easier to edit, so I can get like a really crisp white background. So I just use a command hook, a clear command hook. Can you see? A key part as I am doing this before I actually snap the photo, I leave it kind of hung up here so I can see it. I have an opportunity to use Google Lens. Clearly, if it's set up here, if I'm not 100% confident in how I checked comps in this thrift store, I will check comps one last time before I cut the price tag off. And sometimes I actually realize that I didn't check comps well enough, and I will go ahead and still return the item once I've even gotten to this stage. But if everything checks out, then I will write it down on my spreadsheet. So I use Mogi Beth's spreadsheet, so I'm not going to like show you guys everything on there just to respect her product, but what I do is I record the garment name, like the style, the brand, what size it is, and then how much I paid for it. If I, while I was checking comps, have a clear price that I want to price it at, I also will mark what price I want to list it at. So I make sure that this is recorded. Once I have the price recorded, then I snip the price tag, I take the photo, and I move on to the next item. One thing I definitely want to emphasize that I don't think I made clear is that I steam every single item at once, and then I go through this photographing of every single item at once. So I'm batch working. I spend, ideally, in an ideal world, I spend one day sourcing. Like I said, I drive to LA, and so I'm spending the entire day there sourcing for items. I bring them all back. The next day I steam and I photograph them as much as I can. Usually I'm actually really tired from sourcing all day, and so sometimes it's hard because photographing is actually a pretty like tiresome task, okay? People might laugh if they're not a reseller, but I'm telling you what, it is not an easy task. So the next day I steam and I photograph, and then I also... Okay, let me just stop myself right here. I went down like a rabbit hole that I did not need to go down, but essentially I'm batch working my entire week of work. So the next day I typically spend processing my inventory, so making sure everything's recorded and putting away into my storage system. The day after that, I typically spend batching my YouTube and Instagram content, and then on the last day, I usually spend catching up on anything that I didn't get to throughout the week. Obviously, these are just the high-level tasks that I'm primarily focusing for that day, but I can make an entire video just on this, so I'll move on. Okay, so after I take all my photographs, I use Lightroom to quickly do some editing on them. I have presets already made, so all I do is copy the preset and paste it to all of the photos. I'll show you kind of what a flat lay looks like so you can see. This is what it turns out to be as a flat lay, and then I'll show you what my pictures look like when they are hung up. So after I have all of those, I load them all onto Poshmark and I do draft listings. So all I'm doing is just adding the photos, doing a brief description, and then like the brand and some other things. And that is so I have enough drafts to be listing throughout the week. It makes it so much easier. Part of my morning routine is to just list 8 items out of the batch drafts that I have partially made, so it makes it a lot more efficient, and I strongly believe in listing every single day. So this is kind of what my drafts look like on Poshmark, and all I'm doing is just writing like a brief description of the item and then some of the key features. I don't have the price really set out, and I don't have any of the stock photos. I do use stock photos in some of my listings, not all of them. But yeah, that's kind of like the brief like how I just save drafts, and then I have a ton ready and batched out to go for the week. So after all that, now I'm left with a huge pile of clothes that needs to be organized and taken care of. The reason why I leave this till the end is because a lot of times when I list things, they either sell within like the first 3 days or they sit for a little bit, which is totally fine, but that's why I sometimes like to leave things hanging on my rack or leave things in like my bin that I keep to hold all the items that need to be put away just for a couple of days, because it's kind of annoying when you put something away and then the next day it sells and you have to like take it back out again. So that leaves me a little bit of time after I list the item to be able to put it away. So usually, we'll go over it again, I source one day, steam and photograph the next day, and then the day after that I spend processing my items and catching up on whatever I need to catch up on. So now I'm at the point where I have a ton of stuff. So I do use a bin system where I organize all of my items into the plastic bags, and I have inventory numbers. I feel like this is a very common way that resellers store all of their inventory. Ideally, I would love to have a hanging system, but you guys saw my space conundrum, so we all know your girl's got to use bins and stack them. This is what my bins look like, so I need to create new bags. I'm growing my inventory a lot, so they're going to be in J. I have letters A through J. I have them all lettered with a sticker, and then they all go into my closet, but I'm running out of room, so we need to try to figure out an alternate solution. I use bags from the dollar store. I get a ton of my reseller supplies at the dollar store. I highly recommend it. It saves you so much money. But I use small, just like regular sized ones, and then huge, I think these are quart size, not too sure, zip bags, and I do reuse them, so I'm not wasting. And then I use these all-purpose labels to label with a letter and number. So on my processing day, or whenever I get around to just putting away inventory when I have some downtime, then I just fold the item up, I put it into the bag, and then on my inventory sheet next to the item, I just record what the letter and number combination is, so that when the item sells, I can easily go back to it and find it. So yeah, that is the process. I hope you guys enjoyed. I don't know if this is groundbreaking information or if you guys enjoyed it, but I really appreciate you guys watching. Please, it would really make a huge difference if you could hit the subscribe button if you're not already subscribed to my channel, and give this video a thumbs up. Alright, I will see you guys in the next one.